Salisbury Center, we are ready for our next fight. Making his way to the cage and fighting out of the red corner, it's John Lee McMullen.
Southwest John Lee McMullen, 6'2", 169 pounds. At 23 years old, he's fighting out of Beta Academy. This is his second fight. He's 1-0, and his original fight was actually his debut for CageZilla as well. Sadiq, you and I were talking about, he's got very high-level jiu-jitsu. I actually didn't know he was a blue belt. I thought he was at least a purple belt, moving on to his brown belt maybe, because I've seen him compete at the cash prize division of the Copa Virginia under Dimitri Chizos, which is a very significant promotion in the area. They'll actually be at this venue next week for the Copa Elite. And I bring this up because their cash prize division gets a lot of top talent, and it's completely open. A lot of black belts, a lot of guys crossing over from other high-level organizations, and he's done phenomenal there.
Oh, wow. And then at the same time, I see he's also from Beta Academy, and Beta Academy has been a long-time staple in this area, They're not just in the jiu-jitsu world, but they have some pretty good guys at Muay Thai, too.
They do, and John's got some kickboxing experience. He's 2-1 as a kickboxer in addition to MMA and his grappling experience. So he's very well-rounded. The other thing I'm going to tell you, he's 6'2". His opponent, Josh McIlhenny, is 6'5".
Wow. It's rare.
I'm supposed to fight at welterweight, man. I'm 5'11". What are we doing?
Yeah, it's rare when a tall guy meets another tall guy, let alone someone that's even taller than him. You're not often going to find a bunch of guys that's 6'2" or higher, but so we got that fight tonight.
Yeah, we sure do. As we go down to Chris, the official call out.
And his opponent, making his way to the cage and fighting out of the blue corner, it's Josh McIlhenny.
Josh McIlhenny, 6'5", 170 pounds, out of 27 years old, fighting out of Renaissance Academy of Martial Arts, RAM, down in Lynchburg, Virginia. He's 1-0 as well. It's been about 6 years since he last fought, so he's coming back in for the first time in a long time. You'll see in his corner right there, you have Caleb McAllister, a high-level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, has competed locally and nationally all over, I would say internationally as well. He's a very high-level grappler, former professional fighter himself. And interesting thing about Josh, he was a collegiate wrestler. He wrestled all 4 years at Liberty University. Didn't start all 4 years, but he did compete a little bit here and there. And a fun fact is he's actually the tallest fighter on the UFC, in the CageZilla roster.
Yeah, it makes sense. At 6'5", especially at 170, it's rare to find guys even higher than the 6'3s or anything like that. And like you said, these guys, I feel like when they finally meet up with each other, it's always going to be that weird, I've never fought somebody as tall as me before. It's kind of like when John Jones and Gustafsson first fought each other. I remember John Jones saying that was kind of weird. That was the first time he ever fought somebody his same height, so it threw off a lot of his technique.
Yeah, and I also want to give a quick shout out to Josh McIlhenny for walking out to the Halo soundtrack. I believe this is what was playing during Pillar of Autumn. So big shout out there. I'm a huge Halo fan, so I'll try not to be biased with my commentary after that.
For sure. Well, on the other side, John Lee has a fist on the North Star tattoo, so I won't be biased on his side.
There you go. We'll throw it down to Chris for the official decision.
Salisbury Center, this bout is scheduled for 3 2-minute rounds in the CageZilla welterweight division. This is brought to you by our friends at Blue Label Customs. Customize your life. And Ace Party Rental. They've got you covered. Check them out at acepartycentral.com. And now, starting out, fighting out of the red corner, standing 6'2" and weighing in at 169 pounds, fighting out of Beta Academy with a record of 1 win and no defeats. It's Southwest John Lee McMullen. And his opponent, fighting out of the blue corner, standing 6'5" and weighing in at 170 pounds, fighting out of Renaissance Academy of Martial Arts with a record of 1 win and no defeats. It's Josh McIlhenny. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, this bout is scheduled for 3 3-minute rounds in the CageZilla welterweight division. It is brought to you by Blue Label Customs and Ace Party Rental. Your referee is Michael Dolman.
Both of these guys are bringing in some solid grappling credentials. 4 years wrestling in college is nothing to shake your head at.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And a lot of significant experience there, competitive experience from John Lee. Man, these guys are huge 170ers.
Now I'm wondering who's going to initiate grappling first, Oh, some good leg kicks coming from John Lee.
His chin's a little bit upright in the air, though. You gotta be a little careful. I know he's probably not worried about getting taken down.
And that's one of the things I said about the first time fighting somebody taller than you. You know, it's
Right.
like now I'm having to look up for the first time in my career. You know.
Yeah, and that's an interesting point, right? He might not be used to having to deal with somebody who could touch his chin when he's kicking them.
Yes.
Right? Usually when he's kicking folks, they're probably in a different area code.
Exactly.
And now all of a sudden,
spamming leg kicks. Nice. That was a great takedown. And that's one of those things. John Lee just got a little bit ahead of himself. You know, no matter how good or bad you think your opponent are, you can't spam 30 leg kicks at him. And I like this arm trap that Josh has behind John Lee's back. And I don't know why he's separated right there. You know, if you have him on the ground, maybe you're worried about his jiu-jitsu, you know, like, but give yourself a chance, you know, work out a few things. If you get in some trouble, then you could work your way back up. But while you're down there, he's only human.
that is true. That's a very good point. He might have felt some of those hip switches, you know, when you're going with a high-level guy on the ground, you start feeling them on the bottom, they start shifting their hips. You're like, let me get out of here. He might have felt that.
Man,
but
Joshua is very dominant in this clinch. You know, I saw John trying to work himself off the cage, but exactly, and just with that takedown too, you could tell he's physically strong. That's something a lot of people don't realize about these longer guys. You know, you think they're all skinny and frail until you tie up with them and you realize, like, man, this guy has a different type of strength.
John's going to attack that leg right now. He's going to try to isolate it. It looks like the cage is going to stop him from doing that.
Yeah, and that's a lot of leg, you know, and it's going to be hard for him to get his knee. Okay, his knee's almost free, and that's what's going to save him from this heel hook. As long as his knee's out, the heel hook is relatively gone.
It's very hard to pull that off in MMA.
Yeah. And this is what I saw the last time. Whenever Joshua puts him against the fence, he's very physically imposing. You know, I saw John was having a hard time getting off that fence. He kind of was just stuck in place. And if I'm Josh from right here, I won't really worry about the takedown. Just hold him against the fence and work from there.
Well, I do like that ankle pick, especially when you're able to get somebody up against the cage there. You can really start firing those elbows. This is a great position to throw elbows from because you're tight, all your pressure's there, and it doesn't take too much effort.
Oh,
another.
Nice. I like John looking to go invert for the leg. You know, it takes a little bit of courage because this is MMA. You know, the guy could rain punches on you while you're doing that, but he keeps on trying. He just needs one. And this is deep. This is very deep. Joshua's in a lot of trouble. He's in a whole lot of trouble. He's trying to fish back for that heel, and he's having a hard time. And if he could work his way up with it, they're in 50-50 right now. And, man, Joshua's just strong. You know, he kind of just, like, posted and pushed him off.
Yeah.
And that's something that also comes with having a 35-inch reach, you know. You just post on the person and get him off you.
Yeah, and it looked like Josh kind of settled in there, too. When you called that he was in danger, it looked like he recognized that as well. But, again, you know, we talked about Caleb McAllister a little bit earlier. He's a very, very talented Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, constantly competing on the pro circuit. Again, competed in pro MMA. He's going to get his guys ready for all sorts of looks, not to mention Caleb loves his leg attack. So I say that because John Lee's got so many great inversions, so many good attacks. It just seems like at this point so far, Josh has seen
it before. Yeah,
right?
he's seen it before because he's adjusting very well to it. It's not one of those things where he's just like falling out by accident. He's actually adjusting to it. And as we've seen, this is only the third fight of the night, but there's been a drastic improvement when it comes to technique on both fighters' side.
Yeah, absolutely. These guys are talented. They have a great skill. And for Josh, you know, for having not fought in 6 years,
yes,
he looks great. He looks fantastic. And I like what I'm seeing out of Southwest. We just need a little bit more setups, I think, for those leg attacks to work.
Definitely. I think in the beginning he started realizing, okay, I could touch this guy's legs whenever I want, you know, but you can't get too overzealous because it's not just striking. The guy could just change levels and ankle pick you and take you to the ground.
No,
so I feel like now John's going to approach it a little bit wiser. And now that Josh has kind of already felt like, okay, I'm physically imposing, I could kind of like muscle this guy around. Oh, and he rolled for a knee. Man, this is a brave way to fight, you know, because it's MMA. There's a lot of elbows, a lot of punches that could happen while you're rolling underneath. But he's shooting a shot. You know, if this is what you do and this is what you're good at, you got to try it out in the fight.
Yeah, and it looks like he's really trying to wrestle up from bottom, too. That's one thing that he's going to a lot. And it's just,
you know. Josh has that darce.
Oh, yeah.
He's looking for a darce. And this, man, he's long, too. That's tight.
So I was going to say, for him to get that from that angle.
That is tight. Oh, man, so I think the side with his shoulder is still relatively loose. but it's a tight grip. And guys that are this long, sometimes they don't even have to squeeze. They could just trap you there forever, you know, because of how long their arm are. You're stuck in a perfect triangle.
Well, it's going to turn into a bit of a neck crank, too, as he naturally turns.
Yes.
But wow, dude, John Lee, man, he's got some flexibility to himself,
Yeah,
huh?
he almost took his back while being stuck in the darts.
Yeah, I mean, unbelievable.
I like this, man. Great showing from both guys so far, both offensively and defensively. Now, this is what I was talking about earlier when Joshua has him against the fence here. It's like at this point, sometimes you don't necessarily have to get the takedown. You know, you could work from the fence. And I like this right here to where like he's still on the fence but not flat on his back, to where you're the cage is now stifling his jiu-jitsu.
Right. Right, well, that's how you slow some folks down. You know, Charles Jourdain, when he fought Kron Gracie, he just kind of stuck him up against the cage, and it takes away a lot of that mobility.
Yes. Great performance from both guys so far. And now I think it's time for John needs to start trying to figure something else out. You know, he wasn't doing so bad on the feet. It's just now on the feet, Joshua is so confident in clinching up. It's like, I'm just going to run in and clinch. Right. So I think on the feet, I think it's time for John to start looking to work his hands a little bit more. Oh, I think he's going for a guillotine here. A lot of space on the guillotine, but he used it to advanced position.
And now it looks like John's going to try to get the cage involved. But again, it's a tough situation, right? I mean, he's got all this mobility.
Joshua is so long, like the guillotine grip is almost all the way over his shoulder, you know? Yeah. He can wrap his whole arm around your head.
And, you know, that's the thing, right? Long limbs, long arms, long legs. For triangles, for example, you can get that set up easily, but to get that squeeze for the finish, it's a little bit tougher.
Yeah, your arms are almost too long. And there's like, you can't shut off both arteries. And John's trying to turn sides for an arm bar.
Oh man, good mobility there.
Yeah, this is where those long limbs are a problem. Man, great fight so far. Both guys are starting to show a little bit of signs of fatigue, but that's because both of them are working. You know, it's a lot of output on both sides.
Yeah, John Lee in particular, he's moving pretty heavy on his feet. And when you're on bottom trying to move a big, tall, long guy and get out of bad positions, when you're constantly trying, that'll take you out. You know, there is nothing that tests your cardio the same way.
For sure, especially the fact that he's like inverting for legs. You know, now you're fighting the heavier part of the guy's body.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I do like that catch style that he has is interesting, you know, because it leaves him openings for success. But when I look at the control right now that Josh McIlhenny has had, it makes me think that if he could do that for one more round, he's going to be able to win.
Yes, for sure. Especially the body locks. Now, when they're on the feet, I think John should remove all kicks. Right now, you got to touch his chin, you know, like make him respect you to where he's just not going to run across the cage and bear hug you and then start wrestling from there, because it's working for Joshua, you know. He's starting off with any type of clinch, any type of bear hug, and then he's transitioning to different takedowns from there.
Yeah, and that's a great point. You know, I noticed both guys aren't really loading up on their punches, and their punches are almost they're light to begin with. You know, they're using them more as like throwaways to set things up.
To set things up, you know, and that's John has to kind of load up at this point, you know, because that's the only way you're going to get respect from Joshua. Otherwise, Joshua is just going to body lock and then transition to a different takedown. There we go, and right to the body, like he has double unders now. And this is how he got the takedown the last time. Double unders, he went for a couple of knees, and then he transitioned into something else.
John did a good job there circling out of that.
And these front kicks have been there the whole night, you know, and nice. Every time they get close to each other, he always finds a way to get himself back to the double unders, work against the fence, and then transition that to some type of leg attack. But so far, John's been able to stay on the feet this whole round.
Yeah, and you know, one of the detail about that is it puts the onus of effort on Southwest John, right? He's the one who's got to move. He's the one who's got to push Josh off of him. Yes. So then when he gets back to the center, now it's like, all right, well, I got to catch my breath and rinse and repeat.
Yeah, a few times too, I've seen John. Oh no, he went for a flying elbow and gave up his back. He's looking for a switch. He almost had it, but now Joshua's just on his back. And with the amount of time that's left in the round, you know, he can kind of take his time here and just outrun the clock. Oh, good turnaround from John.
It looked like Josh got stuck with his leg and he couldn't do it. Oh, good sweep though.
Nice. And being 6'5", trying to stop somebody's butterfly sweep at 6'5" is very close to impossible.
That's like being in close guard for most other people, you know?
Yeah. You butterfly sweep you out the cage.
You're flying, yeah. It's like a Mothra sleep, you know?
Yeah.
See him right there. You know, John wants to wrestle up, but then once he does, it's like, all right, we're going to play the deep half game. It's just tough to make these things transition into MMA.
Now he's almost in an arm-in guillotine, you know, and he used it to transition a mount. And it's one of those things where John kind of had no choice, you know, because you got to defend one or the other. Either you're going to defend the position or you're going to defend the submission. And Joshua's still holding on to this guillotine, and he was rolled up in the full mount. Now, is this one of those situations where your arms are too long? He's trying to transition into an anaconda, but there's still it looks pretty tight. It's just your arms are so long, you're kind of making the space on your own. It's hard for you to get the squeeze. It's a lot better now. He's in top half guard, and the cage is on the back to help him with the finish. Oh, this is even tighter.
John's got good defense here, but this is pretty tight. And at a certain point, you know, you're just when you're exhausted, you know, you're already like.
And defense is there blocking the other side too. You know, this is a part of the transitions you can't train for without an actual ring.
Right. Now I do like how calm John is staying, but it's just all that control is going to take that time. You know, it's not going to get the submission, but it makes me believe that he won at least 2 of the 3 rounds.
Oh no,
with control.
I think he won all 3.
All 3.
This was a very high level fight on both guys' side, you know. And if I'm John Lee, of course you're gonna be disappointed with the loss, you know. But this was a very, very high level fight, and this is one of those fights that I could see being both of you guys like pro debut, you know.
Yeah, it looked like it, right? Like I could see both these guys continuing to compete and having success. Again, can't believe both guys are making 170 pounds, but it's very impressive.
Yes.
And it looks like we're going to throw it down to Skylar Lanier at a certain point. At some point.
And to be honest, Joshua doesn't look like drawn out or anything. It's not looking like he's cutting like a crazy amount of weight. I think he's just a long, tall, skinny guy.
Yeah, right. That is true. I mean, I would actually tell you, neither guy looks like they're necessarily cutting weight, but I would imagine that they could also put some on and probably both bump up a weight class.
You just don't want them around your side.
That's basically it. I don't want any excuses for having to deal with somebody so tall. Tell me you're different, though. Tell me you wouldn't think the same thing, right?
For sure.
You look at some of these 45ers and you're like, he could eat a couple burgers, go up to 55, no problem. You know? It's natural. I think I'm too young. That's the problem. Once I turn like 37, 38, I could be like, oh, he's fine. I'm done. I'm retired. But until then, I still have that thought in the back of my head. You know. And I'm thinking to myself, man, I don't want to have to deal with a 6'5", 170-pound guy. You know. But seriously, that was a great fight from both guys.
Yeah, excellent. Like that was very high-level transitions on both fighters' side. You know, like I was saying before, a great win for Joshua. But John shouldn't hang his head. You know, that was a very good showing from him. A lot of good transitions on the defensive side. A lot of good escapes from Joshua from the leg locks early in the fight.
And we'll throw it down to Chris Fuller for the official decision.
Salisbury Center, after 3 rounds of exciting action, we go to the judges' scorecards for a decision. Judge 1 scores about 29-28. Judge 2 and Judge 3 both scored about 30-27, all in favor of your winner by unanimous decision. Out of the blue corner, it's Josh McIlhenny.
Great showing from both guys over there. You see they're exchanging notes. I'm sure they'll be training partners in the future. And we'll see both guys back here in the CageZilla cage soon. We're going to get some pictures underway, and then we're going to throw it down to Skylar Lanier for the first in-cage interview of the night.
All right, Josh, that was one incredible fight. In the beginning, you know, it was back and forth, but towards the end, you absolutely had it. What was going through your mind at this point?
I just want to give all praise, honor, and glory to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. He is the way, the truth, and the life, and no man comes to the Father but through him. And he gives me the strength to endure and persevere. So just trying to be Christ-like in that.
All right, well said. You want to thank anybody before you head out?
Just thank my whole team, my family and friends who encourage me and support me in this. And to my wife and son who couldn't be here, I love you guys, and see you soon.
All right, back to you.